Hello and welcome back to the Grand Prix of Benelux at Lierop. It's 20 degrees out there, so quite warm, and we're on a very, very tough track indeed. MX-2 race 2. The riders are down on the grid. They've just completed their sighting lap. There's a map of the track for those of you who are unfamiliar. The start straight to the bottom left of the screen into a very fast left-hander, followed by a sweeping right into a tight left, turn 3. And then the fun and games start after the first Red Bull jump. On the downside, it gets very, very choppy indeed. And there you see just the remaining riders making their way to the grid. Dave Nicol there with the green flag, our race director. And there is the 2010 FIM World Champion, Marvin Musquin. A successful defence and a brand new spray job as well. Look, the number 1 on the top of the helmet. Successful defence of the title he first won back in 2009, a year ago. There's Sean Simpson, who qualified in 6th position yesterday and came away with a 4th place in moto number 1, riding with a, well, he dislocated his shoulder a couple of weeks ago in Brazil on the first lap, so a good heroic effort from the Scot. Qualifying, it was Gauthier Paulin from Ken Roxon, Joel Roulant, Stephen Frossard, Jeremy Van Horbeek 5th, Sean Simpson 6th, Marvin Musquin 7th, and Valentin Tellier 8th, his best qualifying of the season. 9th was Matis Caro and Arnold Tonus was 10th. In the first race, if you weren't with us earlier, then maybe just turn your sound down briefly, but Gauthier Paulin it was who was victorious in moto number 1. Joel Roulant, Marvin Musquin 3rd, obviously enough to clinch his 2nd title. From Sean Simpson, Steve Frossard. There is how they qualified yesterday. Tellier down in 8th and the rest, but no time for any of that because the 15-second board is going up right now, and the race will be underway just as soon as the 5 turns. Here we go. The gate drops. Ken Roxon nearest our camera on the left-hand side, but he's going to get out-dragged, is he, or is he going to hold a tight line through? Oh, we've got carnage at the first turn. 3, 4, 5 guys gone down. Nick Treese, one of those. Rudy Moroni, possibly, or is it Martin Micek, I think, on the right here. Probably Matis Caro, or maybe Sean Mitchell. Certainly one of the VRD boys, and bodies strewn all over the place as Valentin Tellier tags the back of a rider going into turn 4. So hopefully everybody okay on the deck at the start, at the first turn, but there's Ken Roxon. It was a chain that crashed on him. And we've got Marshall's flags in the background as well. So we've got riders falling off all over the place here, but Marvin Musquin it is. Oh, Frossard's gone down. That's just coming out of the left-hander down the Reboutai straight. That's where Musquin crashed yesterday in the qualifying race. The jumps look like they've been fixed up as well, so that's pretty good to see. I don't think we'll see too much more of that though for the MX-1 guys a little later on. But yeah, around here somewhere, Ken Roxon, when he looked down at the bike, we weren't sure whether it was a gearbox or electrical, because he's had that electrical problem twice this year already as he makes his way around the outside. Yeah, Matis Caro, look, 91, pushing that bike back, the Marshalls. So MVRD's Mark Chamberlain won't be too pleased to see that. So Matis Caro, who finished 10th in the first race, his best race of the season, talking to his mechanic prior to the start of the race, and he said, yeah, another good start, we're doing this nicely, but he's down on the deck at turn 1. Hopefully he's okay. But it was a chain, got derailed. Right, where are we looking here? Oh, over the bars, big time there for Caro. In fact, Caro's there at the back. I don't know who the Zuka was at the front there in the foreground who went right over the handlebars. See if we can work that out again. Roxon just managed to avoid it. Oh, maybe it was Tonus went down. Possibly, yeah, Tonus, I think. Possibly up the inside. So Musquin then over the line. Any moment now. And we'll give you a complete rundown. But Marvin Musquin over the line. There he is, the defending champ. Well, the new world champion, of course. On the Red Bull KTM. Spoke to Yannick Cavella, his trainer. And he said, yeah, maybe he was just a little bit nervous at the start of the race. And then obviously when Ken was there, he knew that he had to finish both races, just score good points. But he probably did feel just a little bit of tension. But Marvin Musquin himself explained that he didn't ride particularly well. But when Roxon went out, when his chain crashed, when it got derailed, the carbon fibre chain guard either a stone got in there and hooked the chain guard around, just derailed the chain, or he just bottomed out in one of those ruts on the faces of the jumps. And just either way, the chain guide got bent, chain was off, and that was it. Yellow flag just around a corner here. Somebody off on the jump around this next right-hander, it would appear, as Roxon trying to dance his way around. There's Sean Mitchell. So both MVRD, Motorvision Racing Suzuki, is out of this second moto. Musquin leads, though, from Joel Roulant. That's the gap there. This is second and third. Roulant and Roxon. Harry Culas 4th, Simpson 5th, Gauthier Paulin 6th, Osborne 7th, Nichols 8th, Valentin Tellier 9th, Jeremy Van Horbeek 10th, Nikolai Larsen 11th, Michael Lieb is 12th ahead of Jens Poppy. 13th, Van der Bogart is 14th, Van Wiesel is 15th, Mel Pocock 16th, 17th is Glenn Coldenhoff, 18th is Dennis Verbruggen, 19th Peter Petrov, and 20th Evan Habe. So it was Tonus who got caught. There's Nick Kuenberg on a KTM. So obviously he's down and out. I wonder if he was one of the guys that got caught up in that first turn. But Roxon, though, on the charge. Trying to find a way past. Joel Roulant has got the right side, though, going into this next right-hander. And look at that, launched his way into the berm, stays up on the pegs, doesn't even sit down. And almost gets it wrong coming out of the turn. It's difficult to carry the momentum over that first double. But he got it done, and already he's put a good gap in between himself and Joel Roulant, and taking a big chunk of time out of Marvin Musquin as well. So this is the battle for the lead then. He was riding good. I spoke to his mechanic, Mark Verbaal, and he was just gutted that the race ended the way that it did for Ken Roxon. But he said, you know, we can't do anything now. It's done. The championship is lost. And he just has to go out and try and win this race and put in a strong performance. There's Kromov on our onboard camera. And another rider coming very, very close together through that wave section, the rhythm section, down towards the finish. And that was probably, well, Kromov already down at the back. Musquin and Roxon, the Suzuki rider out jumping the KTM rider, but they switch to the same side of the track for this next left-hander. But different choice of lines here. Musquin goes defensive to the inside. Instead, the guy on the left in the blue, Roxon, goes around the outside, and it looks like it's paid off as well, because he gets good drive around the outside of Marvin Musquin, but he might just lose out here, will he? Oh, very close. How close do you want it, boys? No one backing off there going into that tight chicane at the end of the straight. Oh, and Roxon all over the place. And so too is Marvin Musquin. Such is the intensity between these two guys in the second moto. The new world champion wants to go out with a win here. Ken Roxon wants to prove that him leading the first race was no fluke, and that he could have won the first moto. But as it stands at the moment, our race one winner, Gauthier Paulin, down in 4th place, sets the fastest lap of the race last time around, 2:08.6 compared to the 2:10 of Marvin Musquin, the 2:08.8, so only 2/10 quicker than our race leader, Ken Roxon. Arnold Tonus in 15th position. So he's got a bit of work to do. Dennis Verbruggen all the way down in 33rd. So I don't know what happened there, but it's Roxon from Marvin Musquin at the moment. Roulant was 3rd last time around. He had a 4-second advantage as the Suzuki gets a little bit loose in the air as well that time around. There is Mark Verbaal. His focus, good. That's the signal coming from the Tech Europe Suzuki camp. And Roxon on a mission here. He wants to check on out of there. Roulant is still hanging on in 3rd, but for how long? Because Gauthier Paulin, our winner from race 1, all over the back of the Nissan JM Racing KTM rider. And Gauthier Paulin on the Monster Energy Yamaha, he has to work his way further upfield. He has to find a way past the 34 of Joel Roulant and find a way past Marvin Musquin for the overall victory, I think. Just off the top of my head, but we'll worry about that nearer the time. Oh, Roulant's just getting stopped there in the hole through that right-hander. Doesn't lose too much time or momentum, though. That's the Sean Simpson line. Gauthier Paulin using, just hugging the bank, trying to stay out of one of the deep holes. But, ooh, heavy landing there from the Yamaha rider Paulin, number 21. Alessandro Lupino's crew getting ready to hold out the board. Lupino, well, where's he at the moment? Nowhere in the top 20, that's for sure, as Paulin goes down the inside. Is he going to nudge Roulant's out of the way? No, but I tell you what, it was mighty close between the two guys. They're battling for 3rd position. Good drive though for Paulhan, but gets a little bit too deep in the holes. But can he carry the momentum? Yes. So now Paulhan moves into third position, but it's part of the circuit, so very brutal. I thought the two riders were going to come together in the air there. Paulhan replicates the move he used to overtake Gautier. Paulhan when he moved into second position in the early stages of race one. And slams into a few big holes as well in the process in getting the job done, trying to pass Joel Roulance, who his post-race interview in the first moto, he claimed he was saving himself for the second moto as well, so he had a little bit left in the tank. So can he go after Gautier Paulhan, reclaim that third position? The back marker ahead, just on the right side of the track. Not sure who that was actually. 3:35, it's Dennis Verbruggen, so if that's the case, then not a good ride for him. Dennis Verbruggen, yeah, way down the order, down in around 33rd position, so yeah, probably will be Dennis Verbruggen, but still going low. Right, this is Paulhan overtaking Joel Roulance. Just gets good drive, then slams into that one, gets a kick, but then Roulance having to back off to make the inside. And Paulhan able just to keep the gas on around the KTM rider, work his way through the next couple of waves onto the face of that jump, and he moves into third place. Fastest first split sector time for Ken Roczen, 36.215 compared to the 36.498 of Marvin Musquin, who's going with the 16-year-old German. So these two carrying a pretty good pace, 209s at the moment. Interesting to see how much the times come down by the end of the race. Certainly jumps have been thick. Oh, Roczen just getting slammed, so too Marvin Musquin. That's how big those holes are. And you just hear the engine there, just Marvin Musquin on the gas in between holes there, just waiting for the back wheel to find traction and drive just to get through that next series of waves. But Marvin Musquin, he hasn't given up the fight yet. Seems to have settled down again and is back in pursuit of Ken Roczen, number 94. So Roczen leads it. He's got, well, about a 1.8 second advantage. They came over the line over Marvin Musquin, with Paulhan third, Roulance fourth, Kulas, Simpson, Osborne, Nichols, Van Hoorbeek and Valentin Tellier rounding out the top 10. Arnold Tonis moving up into 11th position, pushing Nikolai Larsen down to 12th. Stephen Frossard now up into 18th, pushing Mike van der Bogart down in another position, down into 19th. Words of encouragement there from Roczen's mechanic, who's opened up a bit more of a gap over Marvin Musquin, who seems to have made a mistake there. 2:08, fastest lap of the race so far for Ken Roczen. That gap now 3.1, so it's doubled in size compared to what it was a lap ago. Marvin Musquin just hanging onto a gear just a little bit too long, coming out of that left-hander at turn 3, then back into the shade at turn 4. Used to be concrete whoops through there, but they got rid of those, and now it's just deep sand, big holes. Very difficult for the riders coming out of that turn into that short straight. Roczen, he's the man in control at the moment. For sure, disappointed with how things turned out in moto number 1. But even if he would have won the race and Musquin was second or third, and this result stands here with Roczen out front and Musquin second, Musquin would still be world champion at the end of the day. So Roczen just doing as much as he can do. Tonis and Van Hoorbeek, they're trading lines here. Van Hoorbeek just fighting for traction coming into that turn 3. Arnold Tonis on the charge, picking himself up into 11th place at the moment. But Jeremy Van Hoorbeek riding with a bit of fluke. Had a tough first moto, crashed in the closing stage of the race, eventually came home in 29th place, no points on the board for him. In fact, Van Hoorbeek probably got as high actually as it was in the end actually. Van Hoorbeek, well, he was knocking around the top 10, that's for sure. 13th at one point, worked his way up into 8th, before crashing out and almost losing it again. We're going down to pit crew now.
I know Jeremy got his first podium in Brazil a couple of weekends ago, but he's only 10th now. Did you expect perhaps a little bit more from him?
Yes. The problem was Jeremy was sick today, and in the first race he had to stop because so tired, and now he do his best, but we'll see when he's sick he's not do anything more.
Thank you.
Yeah, but he did. He made a mistake before he had to come in. But you say there, heard the team manager there, Stephen Das, just saying that he has been sick. He confirmed that to me this morning before the first race as well. So he was looking for a good result here. Was Van Hoorbeek this weekend, but not going to happen as an overall Grand Prix result, but he can try and make amends here in this second moto. Currently down in 11th position, having just been passed by the hard-charging Arnold Tonis on that Teka Europe Suzuki number 23, the young Swiss rider, who's just, tell you what, that was pretty good through there. There's some horrible holes. I was about to say, we lost Van Hoorbeek there, but no, here he comes under the Teka bridge right now. There's Valentin Tellier just ahead, and Jake Nichols. They're the next guys in the target, in the sights of number 23, Arnold Tonis. So Roxon has a 3.7 second advantage over Marvin Musquin. Gauthier Paulin is third, 10 seconds further back. Fourth is Joel Roulant. Fifth, Harry Kulas. Sixth, Sean Simpson. Seventh is Zach Osborne. Eighth, Jake Nichols. Ninth, Valentin Tellier. That's him there on screen on the HDI KTM. Arnold Tonis now in 10th on the Teka Europe Suzuki. 11th is Jeremy Van Hoorbeek. 12th is Nikolai Larsen on the SRS Honda. 13th, Michael Van Wezel. 14th, Christophe Charlier. Frossard is now 15th, ahead of Mel Pocock on the bike at Cosworth Yamaha. 16th is Pocock, sorry. 17th, Glenn Coldenhoff. Peter Petrov is 18th, ahead of Van den Boga. Nick Triest, who's picked himself up off the deck at turn 1 from that big crash, and he's in a final championship point scoring position. A little bit further behind them, we have Sander van Harpen, the local guy. Jeffrey Meurs, Clement Gertje, they're all down there. Lupino down in 25th. Rudy Moroni, Michael Leaps dropped all the way down to 31st position and is already 2 or 3 laps down, so he's pulled out. And I'm sure Dennis Verbruggen has as well. But Jake Nichols there on the left, number 45, being closed in fast by the number 37 of Valentin Tellier. So Jake Nichols, whoa, tell you what, that was close between him and number 37, Valentin Tellier there, and almost off the side of the bike there, and allows 37 Tellier to go through. So Nichols really struggling on this lap here around this tough Lierop circuit. He's just been overtaken, and he's now moved down to 9th. Valentin Tellier then overtakes Jake Nichols to move into 8th position. Nichols drops to 9th, and lurking in the background on the Teka Europe Suzuki is Arnold Tonis. He can see Jake Nichols in that bright orange Fox clothing, who's weaving his way all over the track here. I don't know if he's made a mistake and just lost his concentration, lost his rhythm a little bit. Normally Jake Nichols would love these conditions here. But you see, just not getting the drive, everything's all off, his timing's all off at the moment, Jake Nichols. And that's allowing Arnold Tonis on the Suzuki to close all the time, as they come over the line to complete their 6th lap. Zach Osborne on the bike at Cosworth Yamaha. He's there having a good ride in 7th position. Osborne finished 11th in the first race. But not everybody able to get over that tabletop, as you see Osborne there. It's not so much the takeoff, but what's the other side, the holes, the ruts, the bumps going into that next turn, and then look how deep these holes are here. Absolutely brutal. Gonna try and hook the bank, is he? Well, I thought about it. Just these guys disappearing. You can't even see them. The other side of that jump. Such is the depth of the big waves and the heavy landing there from 338. Zach Osborne, as we look at Sean Simpson in 6th position on the Red Bull KTM. His teammate Marvin Musquin is just a little bit further up the track in 2nd place, still 3.5 seconds behind Ken Roxon. So that one I feel is going to go all the way to the end, but we're going down to pit lane to talk to KTM.
I know Sean dislocated his shoulder in Brazil. I mean, he's 6th at the moment. Is he going to be okay? Is he going to be able to work his way up?
For sure he's okay, because after the crash he had in Brazil, and the shoulder pop out, so he's riding very well, and the stand is not for sure the easiest condition to ride, so for me he's doing a very good race. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's not easy. After dislocating the shoulder, obviously there's different levels of dislocation. You already see Hurling's out having had surgery on his shoulder, but Simpson able to recuperate quickly. They put it in straight away at the circuit when he was in Brazil, but able to ride here this weekend as well. He may ride in Fermo, we're not quite sure yet. Obviously a different type of track down there in Italy. In 1 week's time, the final round of the FIM MX-2 MX-1 Motocross World Championship, also the final round of the women's series as well. But as it stands at the moment, Gauthier Paulin would win his first Grand Prix of 2010. He would finish on 45 points with a first and a third. Musquin would be second on 42 with a third and a second, and Joel Roulance would get on the podium here if he would stay where he was with a second and a fourth. Simpson would just miss out though, well, to the tune of 7 points in fourth position, and Harry Koulas would finish in fifth place. And there is Harry Koulas, 151 on the Garibaldi Yamaha. He's outshone his teammate Christophe Charlier pretty much every weekend this year, although his teammate, to be fair, has had a couple of hand injuries that he's been struggling with all season long, but even still, you cannot take anything away from this youngster from Finland. That's upstairs in pit lane, the guy there in the middle next to Eric de Boers, Marcus Bauer from Teka, the CEO, and the, I suppose you could say, the main money behind the Teka Europe Suzuki squad in the MX-2 category that runs Arnold Tonis and, of course, Ken Roczen. Roxon's lead at the top of the... Roxon's lead in this race has come down. It's less than 2 seconds now, 1.9. He had a 2:16.6 last time compared to the 2:15.1 of Marvin Musquin. So Marvin Musquin suddenly, in the second half of the race, getting a bit of a charge on here and senses that he can go out with a victory here. If he does that, then him and Paulin will tie on points, 45 apiece. And a victory overall will go to Marvin Musquin. So Roczen needs to stay ahead just to take another race win, but Marvin Musquin needs to go ahead of Roczen just to secure his 15th career Grand Prix victory that would moving level with Donny Schmidt, Tyler Rattray, Bill Nielsen, Jean-Michel Bale and Andrea Bartolini. Currently on 14 wins, lost his front plate as well as Marvin Musquin, so that'll be a souvenir for somebody out there. Picking that up off the side of the track. Don't get too many of those come your way. But there's the gap. Big leap there for Marvin Musquin. Roczen already in the corner. There he is in the blue. Just getting past a back marker, I think that was 67, Jeffrey Meurs. If that's the case, then the guys are already lapping well and truly through the leaderboard down to 22nd. In that case, Frossard's dropping down the order. He's now down to 20th position, having been passed, so I guess it's fell. Having been passed by Clement Gertcher, Jens Popper and Jeffrey Meurs. So Frossard actually going down even further. So Frossard is either pulled out or he's gone missing somewhere out on the track away from our cameras. But look how hard Roczen's having to work on that Teka Europe Suzuki, really picking the front end up. Stood up over the back of the bike, hooking a nice tall gear just to keep the drive going. Dig those rear wheels through the sand. And Marvin Musquin, well, it was 1.6 last time. I think it's just opened up again. So Ken Roczen has responded. There is Frossard, in and out, going back to the paddock. So disappointing then for Stephen Frossard. Looked pretty good for him in the qualifying race yesterday. Qualified in 4th position. But his first race, Stephen Frossard finished in 5th. So he would have won it better from this second moto. There's Joel Roulance. He's in 4th position, having been passed a couple of laps ago by Gauthier Paulin. Gap between those guys now is 8 seconds. But Roulance will still be on the podium if he's to stay where he is. Did he go down? Has he made a mistake? Goes to the inside, goes a bit deep, gets bogged down, loses a bit of ground, and then loses all that momentum. Has to get back on the gas as soon as possible and start working the front end of the bike just to get over that horrible wave section coming out of that left-hander under the Mormai Bridge. But he's gone through. There's Lupino, number 77. He's now in 20th position. So Roxon's gap, 3.8, so a good lap for him. 2:12.7 compared to the 2:14.9 of Marvin Musquin. So that gap just backwards and forwards at the moment. Team shirts, Marvin Musquin, 2009, 2010 MX-2 world champion, says it all. And he's notched up a fair rate of wins as well. Taken 8 Grand Prix victories in 2010. En route to that world title. Could be 9 if he finds a way past Roxon, but look how he's having a fight through those waves. Roxon already passed the 2 back markers ahead of him, ahead of Musquin. Oh, Nick Treese, Rudy Maroney, both riders mindful of the fact that Marvin Musquin coming through, doubling his way through some of these holes. Getting good distance over the jumps, and Roxon already out of this left-hander. And on this straight, that came towards the main arena, so 3.8 it was, probably around about 4 or 5 seconds now, that gap between Roxon and Musquin. Paulin still third, Roulont's fourth, Koulas fifth, Simpson still sixth from Osborne, Tellier, Tonus, and Jake Nichols in 10th position, having now been passed by Arnold Tonus. Nikolai Larsen is 11th, Christophe Charlier 12th, Van Horbeek 13th, Koldenov 14th, Mel Pocock is, well, he was 15th a minute ago, but it's just been passed by Van Wiesel. So Pocock now 16th, Petrov 17th, Triest, Van der Bogart and Lapuno down there in 20th place. There's Jake Nichols to the left in the orange on the HM Plant Red Bull UK KTM machine. The guy he's got alongside him, John Cuppen, on a, you can just hear it, the 125 Yamaha. Really ripping the nuts off the thing, but obviously not involved in the race. But it's great to hear the little 125 just singing away out there. The deep bark of the 250F, and then a little mosquito-esque sound of that Yamaha in the background of John Cuppen of the Netherlands. When I heard him going around on in practice on Saturday, I was thinking, yeah, good luck, son. But obviously, probably the reason, maybe not that old, maybe just lacking a little bit of strength, and obviously jumped at the chance to ride a Grand Prix here this weekend in the Benelux. But there is Tonus, number 23. He's got Tellier just ahead of him to his left, number 37 on the XGI KTM. So Tonus riding a strong second half of this second moto, gets good distance there. Looks like he's finding a way past Tellier, is he? Tellier's going to go to the outside, or is he going to squeeze it to the inside? Yeah, and he closes the door on Tonus there. It's that right-hander. Different choice of lines there. Tonus didn't get the drive, and then Tellier messes up, and that opens the door for Arnold Tonus. So mistakes from both riders there, coming out of that right-hander into the wave section. And it's Tonus now who moves up another position into 8th place. So Roxon's lead at the head of the field is 6.4 over Marvin Musquin. Paulin around about 9 seconds further back in 3rd. He knows if he stays there, he wins the Grand Prix. Joel Roulant is in 4th position, 15 seconds behind Gauthier Paulin, and that'll get him overall on the podium as well in 3rd place if he stays there. Harry Koulas having a great ride in 5th ahead of Sean Simpson. Zach Osborne in 7th. Arnold Tonus there now just flashing out of sight on that yellow Suzuki. He is how far behind Osborne? About 9 seconds. And his lap times, Arnold Tonus 2:21, Osborne last time around 2:20. So Osborne lapping all right at the moment, hanging on to that 7th position. Although the gap between him and Simpson, about 6 seconds. And again, Osborne lapping a little bit quicker than Sean Simpson. So with 8 minutes plus 2 laps to go, still a long way around this tough circuit at Lierop, but anything can happen. Slightest lapse in concentration, front wheel can fold, and that's it. Curtains, you're down trying to pick yourself up and trying to regain your composure. Very, very difficult to do that around here. There you see Tellier in the background, number 37 on the KTM, just slamming into one of those holes, dragging the foot pegs in the process, hoisting a load of dirt up in the process. But you've got to just keep your momentum and your composure. You've got to ride with a cool head around here. There's Osborne. So we're focusing on Zach Osborne, and just at the top of the straight, coming under the Red Bull Bridge, was Arnold Toner. So that's the gap between the bike at Kossuth Yamaha of the American Zach Osborne there, number 338, who currently sits in 7th position. And he's, 6 seconds down on Sean Simpson. So it'll be interesting to see if Sean Simpson's shoulder can hang out in the remaining probably 10-12 minutes of this race. Don't forget, we've got 2 laps at the end when the 7 minutes there goes to 0. We have 2 more laps, the final 2 laps. Roxon establishes his lead at the top of the at the front of the field. 9.3 seconds now, lapping 3 seconds lap quicker than Marvin Musquin, who seems content to just finish on the podium now here in Lierop. But Gauthier Paulin in 3rd, stays there, he wins the Grand Prix. Zach Osborne had a good lap that time around. 2:21 compared to the 2:22 of Arnold Toner. That gap between the 2 riders, 9 seconds. So you have to say, Zach Osborne in control of his 7th position at the moment. He's only 5 seconds behind Sean Simpson though, so Simpson just there, just around the right-hander ahead of the American Zach Osborne. And it'd be interesting to see whether Sean Simpson changed his mind about the Motocross of Nations ride, because Billy McKenzie apparently broken collarbone yesterday in the AMA National at Still City, and he was being considered for a possible ride alongside Dean Wilson and now Jake Nichols. Jake Nichols in for the injured Tommy Searle. But also we've got Brad Anderson at home. He's a candidate for the MX-1 ride. Either way, I suppose who Great Britain decide to pick, they will give it all heart. But there's Harry Kulas, 151. He's in 5th position on that Garibaldi Yamaha. Coming round to complete his 12th lap. Roxon already over the line, so too Musquin, Paulin and Roulants. So it gives you some idea as to the gap between Joel Roulants and Harry Kulas in 5th position. Not confident just to get through there. There's Macek. He was one of the guys that went down at turn 1. Took out Mattis Caro and a bunch of other guys. But Macek had enough here in this second moto. Kulas over the line now then. A minute behind Joel Roulants almost. But riding a good steady ride. Who's that taking his bike back? Might have been Sander van Herpen, 74. So he'll be disappointed with that. We've got 4.5 minutes or thereabouts, plus 2 laps to go. Roxon still leads. He's 11.2 clear of Marvin Musquin. Paulin 4th, Roulants 4th. And this man here, Kulas, in 5th. Sean Simpson continues to hold off Zach Osborne in 6th position. That gap around about 6 seconds now. But Joel Roulants here on the Nissan JM KTM. 4th position for him. 2nd in the first race. We'll get him on the podium in 3rd place. Arnold Toner a little bit further down in 8th. Valentin Tellier 9th. Nichols having on in 10th place. He's got about 8-9 seconds over Christophe Charlier in 11th. Nikolai Larsson's 12th. Michael Van Wiesel is 13th. Ahead of Jeremy Van Horby, Glenn Coldenhoff, Mel Pocock still there. A good handful of points for him to add to the one he picked up in the first moto. Mel Pocock in 16th position. Roulants over the line to complete his 13th lap. Lapping in 2:17.6, the same as Roxon and Musquin. Only Gauthier Paulin has slowed his pace by 2 seconds that time around, down to a 2:19. He's 11 seconds off Marvin Musquin, and he's got about 14 seconds over this man here, Joel Roulants. Roulants looking pretty calm, composed. You have to stand down on that corner if you come here. And the way that the guys have to attack because if they can just launch and get as high up over the top of that crest as possible, it definitely takes away a lot of the energy, a lot of the effort needed. The lower down you hit, the more energy is used, and the more difficult it becomes. There's Gauthier Paulin, he's still there in third. Looks like he's coming up to lap Jeremy Van Hoorbeek in 14th position. So the Monster Energy Yamaha rider there, number 21, winner in race 1, going around the outside of the flu-ridden Jeremy Van Hoorbeek in there on the Kawasaki, number 89. But this man here, looking on course to take his first Grand Prix victory of 2010, is Gauthier Paulin. He was victorious in moto number 1. He's currently in third position in the second moto. He will steal the overall from Marvin Musquin by about 3 points. And that'll be a good day for the Frenchman. Hasn't won a Grand Prix since Lockett, 2009, believe it or not, when he had a 4th and a 1st. So in more than a year, Gauthier Paulin on course to take his first GP victory since the last. Roczen, though, got about 3 laps to go. His gap over Marvin Musquin, 11.5 seconds. He's got back markers ahead of him. Number 92, Alessandro Batigue on the Martin Honda. 37, Valentin Tellier. Well, Tellier is 9th in the race, so they've already lapped Jake Nichols there in the orange. Marvin Musquin coming up now on the left of your screen. Big leap for him under the Rebutizer bridge. His flash new swanky aero helmet with the number 1 right on the top of the lid in gold. Oh, that wheel just pouring away at the bank there. Oh, and who's that? Alex Eriksson's gone down. So Alex Eriksson, number 26, the teammate to Jake Nichols, who was a little bit further down the order, down in 25th position. His bike just lying on the other side of the jump there, look. And he needs the marshals just to wave those flags so he can get to that bike, otherwise somebody's going to come over and land clean smack in the middle of that HM plant Red Bull KTM. And there's nothing he can do there. He's waiting for the assistance. There we go. Is there somebody else gone down? No? Just telling him just to change his position so the riders can definitely see that yellow flag being waved. But there's Marvin Musquin, almost 12 seconds down on our race leader, Ken Roczen. Paulin just needs to do enough to keep it there in third position to secure the overall victory as Clement Gertje, number 62, almost tagging, and Charlier's out. So Charlier may be running out of fuel there, who knows, but Charlier, who was down in 11th position, just behind Jake Nichols, he goes out right in the closing stages, just over 2 laps to go for him. So the Garibaldi Yamaha does all that work for nothing. Marvin Musquin did all of his hard work in the beginning of the season. Winner of 7 of the first 8 Grand Prix. S73's gone down, that's Jens Poppy. So he was in the points earlier on, but he's now outside of the points. He was outside of the points anyway before that fall. But Marvin Musquin in control of second position. Oh, you're going to see the back end come around here. Yeah, look at that, that's a biggie. Going down, oh, handlebar right in the nuts. Unlucky, son. Sean Simpson, he's there in 6th position. That's him there, number 11. Going past the stricken Yamaha of Christophe Charlier, who ran out of, well, looks like possibly ran out of fuel a lap ago. Could have been anything though, of course. There's Zach Osborne. Osborne has found a way past them. So Osborne is now into 6th position. Simpson's dropped down to 7th place. So Osborne was lapping that little bit quicker than Sean Simpson a few laps ago, to the tune of about a second or so, but really stepped it up. Simpson had a bad lap, 2:26 compared to the 2:22.8 of Osborne. So that's why that 5-second gap came down. Possibly a mistake there from Simpson, or that shoulder just starting to pain him a little bit as the back end of that bike, because of Yamaha, just skirts around, coming into that right-hander. Osborne very lucky to stay on the machine. Just looking further down the order, remember, Roxon already lapping up as far as Valentin Tellier in 9th place. Arnold Tonus is in 8th position, but he was quite a way, about 20 seconds ahead, Valentin Tellier, so you would think that Tonus is going to be safe there and finish on the same amount of laps as our race leader. "15 laps complete so far for the first, 7 riders. Roxon, Muscan, Paulin, Roulant, Coulas, Osborne, Simpson. Tonus is there, he completes his 15th lap as well. And there is Roxon. So we were talking a moment ago about Roxon maybe not lapping his teammate, but I think it was Tonus who did go down on the first turn in that big crash. Certainly gated it from the inside, looked like possibly Tonus, might be wrong though, we'll have to wait for another replay of the highlights of this second race. But Ken Roxon started around about 4th, 5th position, worked his way to the front, and he's looked in control ever since. Marvin Muscan tried to go with him and ran him good for a good few laps. The gap down to about 1.5 seconds at one point, then it was out to about 3, and it was just yo-yoing backwards and forwards like that. But in the end, 16.7 the gap between that man there, number 94, Ken Roxon, and Marvin Muscan, as he comes to lap his teammate, Arnold Tonus, number 23, on the second of the Tech Europe Suzukis. Mike van der Bogart moves up into 19th. Jeffrey Meurs is now in the points in 20th because Christophe Charlier, obviously, he was the rider that's gone missing on that last lap. Tonus knows his teammate's there, just takes a look over his shoulder. Says, righto, son, well, that just gives me half a lap left, less to do. Because, I'll tell you what, he's carrying good speed still. Here's Roxon. He's really worked hard on his sand riding, has to be said. Struggled a little bit at Lommel last year, but man, did he pick up the pace at Lommel this year, and then here he is. He led the first race before he was cruelly denied a possible victory. Oh, look at this. This is for second in the race, Marvin Muscan and Gauthier Paulin. Paulin will certainly want to pass his fellow countryman and new 2010 world champion Marvin Muscan. Will Muscan, though, just turn it up enough just to stay ahead of the Monster Energy Yamaha rider? Looks like that's going to be the case, but certainly a showdown finale finish for these two French riders here, Muscan and Paulin. Ken Roxon about to come out of the final corner. The checkered flag being readied for Roxon. He will go on to take victory here in the second moto, but unfortunately for him, too little, too late. The championship was already lost as far as he's concerned in that first race. But coming out of the final corner, Marvin Muscan and Gauthier Paulin. It's going to be Muscan who just holds on for second. Paulin will take third, but he will win the overall Grand Prix here at Lierop. He takes his first race win in moto number 1, and he follows it up with overall victory in the second moto for the Grand Prix. And the two French riders, a massive amount of respect for each other, and a good way to finish that second race. Ken Roxon just congratulates the two French guys as well. He won't be on the podium because of a first race DNF, but Gauthier Paulin, well done, son, very well deserved, and his first victory of 2010. And in a moment, Lisa will be down there ready to grab a quick word with the winner of round 14 here at Lierop, Gauthier Paulin. There's Lisa just getting ready, just at the end of that pit lane there, but here we go, Gauthier Paulin, let's hear what he has to say.
Gauthier, first GP win of 2010, how's it feeling?
Yeah, the feeling is just awesome. Like last year for me it was difficult in France, and now I'm just leading and winning. This GP was just perfect, all the qualifying race, all the time, the practice. I was always on the front of the board, and now I'm just so happy. I want to thank Thor, AGV, Scott, Yamaha Monster Energy, all the people around me, Gaël, and now I'm really happy.
Thank you, congratulations.
Joe Roulant, so third overall this weekend for the Nistan JM Racing KTM team. His third visit to the podium in 2010. After the 2 seconds that he had in France at Saint-Jean and also Belpuig, Catalonia. Marvin Muscan, the new world champion, takes the second step of the podium. And I'm sure we'll see the presentation of the gold plate at the end of this ceremony as well. But Gauthier Paulin, thoroughly deserved victory here. As he said in his post-race interview immediately after he crossed the line, his name's been on the top of the leaderboard all weekend long. He's had a good feeling with the bike and the track. And when he was asked in the press conference yesterday at the end of qualification, Massimo Raspanti there congratulating his boy on that top step of the podium. The question was asked, you know, do you feel that you can go for a victory? The answer was, yeah, for sure, I'd like to try that. But, you know, here he is, he's done it. Dr. de Goos, president of the KNMV, hands the third place trophy to Marvin Musquin by mistake. Joel Roulance should be the recipient of that. There you go. Tony Skinnington from the FIM will hand Marvin Musquin his second place trophy. Maybe he was a little bit happier with the way he rode in the second race, who knows. Then the winner's trophy to Gauthier Paulin, handed by Peter Vermeulen, of the president of the organisation here. And it's been a long wait for Gauthier Paulin, more than a year since his last victory in Lockett in 2009. Massimo Raspanti will pick up the manufacturer's trophy by Mr. Steenhausen, Ministry of Health, and was that safety? I guess it was. Just came up just a little bit too quick. Didn't stay on the screen long enough.